This episode is brought to you by Learnly. For more information, go to learnly.me. Enjoy the show.
Pro-choice insanity? Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
It's bad.
Double negative?
Yep. Yeah. Right. Public schools feel unsafe, man.
Yes, they do.
And J.D. Greear queering the SBC?
What?
What did you just say?
Oh, man.
We got 2 interviews,
man.
not just one.
2. Yes.
I got my
Representative
sunflowers.
Matt Shea and John Speedy. John Speedy.
Did you just... We're sorry, John.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to CrossPolitic. The Water Boy, Chalk Knox, Pastor Toby. It's good to be with you. And share the show. It's right now. It's going on right now. Share the show.
Tag your friends.
Thank you to our club members.
Oh.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes,
We're
we
here
do.
because of you. So, pro-choice insanity. We got how many states right now are moving forward with some sort of advanced pro-abortion measures?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we got Virginia, New York, New Mexico, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Of course, Virginia got shut down. We'll talk more about that
Praise
here.
God. Well,
Praise
yeah.
the Lord. But we also have a number of pro-life. You're bothering me, Toby, already. You got a number of pro-life initiatives happening,
It's almost
too.
baseball season.
You have Iowa, Indiana, Kentucky, North Dakota, Louisiana, Ohio, even though Kasich vetoed the bill, the new governor it sounds like he said he would sign the bill that Kasich vetoed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow.
And then you got New Mexico, no, not New Mexico, Idaho's doing some stuff with Representative Heather Scott, which we hope actually get her on the
I
show
hope she
too.
comes on.
Yeah, so back up a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Just remember the big picture here. I mean, this has been a couple of weeks of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
A couple
has.
weeks
really
of
has.
crazy. I mean, so Cuomo, I mean, he was like taunting the New York legislature. Bring me a bill.
Yeah.
Bring me a bill.
Yeah.
No restrictions on abortion at all. I want it on my desk. I want to sign it. You got, so they get it to him. He signs it on, I think it was the Roe versus Wade anniversary.
Yep.
You got this, the scenes of a cheering legislature, New York legislature, standing applause, the murder of babies. You got these scenes of this grinning signing ceremonies with this, Cuomo with this big smile on his face and all the ladies.
Not the
and,
Covington boys.
no,
The smirk from Como.
yeah, for some reason, Twitter didn't go crazy
Huh.
when he was grinning and smiling about murdering babies. He lights the new trade center
Yes.
pink
Yeah.
in celebration of this new
Bill.
law.
Yeah. Where people were died, right?
Right. I mean, the ironies, and at the bottom, the bottom of the trade center tower, there's a plaque with all the names of the lives lost, including
The unborn.
8 unborn babies
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
who are recognized
That's right.
Wow.
in the building
know that.
of that new trade tower. There were unborn babies recognized by the state of
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now,
They're dancing on their graves.
I mean, if the planes were flown into this trade center, would any unborn babies' names end up on the plaque? And the New York law that's just been passed seems like it would completely not recognize those lives. This is followed, of course, by a vote in Virginia on a bill that would have allowed abortions all the way up to the point of delivery.
Which some states already have.
Oh yeah,
Right.
but it's just like
Virginia was going to expand.
they were trying to
Yep.
expand it.
Yep.
And during questioning on the floor, the Virginia delegate, Kathy Tran, said that the bill would allow for abortions all the way up to a woman being in labor.
Yep.
And she was asked this, and she said, yes, it would allow for this.
And the lady that co-sponsored this bill with Kathy, stepped away and said, "I'm sorry for co-sponsoring this bill. I never read it."
thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
It might have to do with life and death, but I just, I didn't have time to read it.
Sponsor it with you.
Pass it. We'll see what's in it.
Yeah, we'll see what's
I'll
in it.
sponsor it with you.
And then, of course, it really crazy went bonkers when the moderate,
Yeah.
I put in quotation marks, Democratic governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam, proceeded to defend the bill on a radio broadcast explaining that a child could be born, resuscitated if the parents wanted to, and then a discussion would ensue about what to do.
I'm getting mad.
Don't take my word for it.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
A discussion?
It's crazy that a baby could be born alive and then a discussion would ensue if we let it die.
Wait, what are you doing? Don't resuscitate that. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's an option, apparently.
That's an option?
Yeah.
That's apparently an option.
I'm glad that conservative media blew up about this.
Oh, blew up such that Northam had to respond.
Yep.
On Twitter, he said, I have devoted my life to caring for children. He's an infant doctor.
No way.
An infant doctor for, I don't know, like 30 years or something?
Yeah, he's been doing it for a long
So
time.
this guy is not just a politician talking about stuff he doesn't understand.
I didn't even know that.
He was a baby doctor.
Yeah.
And he says, I've devoted my life to caring for children, and any insinuation otherwise is shameful and disgusting. He tweeted that on January 30th.
Yeah.
In response.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I'm glad that Virginia bill got shut down.
Crazy thing? Crazy. Oh, talk about insanity. The very same day that Tran is proposing this bill on the floor of the Virginia state legislature, she also proposed legislation that would protect gypsy moths and cankerworms from insecticide spraying.
No way.
I'm sorry, what? The same day?
The same day.
These people are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you thought Gabe was being a little over the top when he said pro-choice insanity?
Yeah.
So we want to protect cankerworms and
gypsy moths from insecticide spraying that might possibly harm their species.
But they already have third-term abortions on the books.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
The New York Times pointed out in a opinion article that under current law in Virginia, third trimester abortions are already permitted when a woman's physician and 2 other doctors certify that continuing a pregnancy would result in a mother's death or, quote, substantially and irremediably impair the mental or physical health of the woman, unquote. So when Kathy Tran testified in favor of that bill, the thing that the bill would do, it would have ended the requirement for 2 extra doctors to sign off on such abortions, and it would have struck the words substantially and irremediably from the existing law.
Right.
So it's already allowed if 3 doctors believe that it would be do substantial and irremediable harm to the health of a mother.
Right.
It would take those words out, and it would only require 1 doctor to sign off on it.
So we're not trying to kill a whole bunch of babies, guys. We're already doing that. We're just trying to make it easier to kill a whole bunch of babies.
Right. The opinion piece says that at no point did Tran try to legalize infanticide.
No, because we're already doing it.
You better put something there.
Something
Come on.
there.
Preach. Yes, that's exactly.
So
at no point does she need to try to legalize it because it already is legal.
Yeah.
They're already doing it.
So I think all these pro-choice measures, we've talked about this a little bit before, but all these states are shoring up their pro-choice stuff because they know what could be potentially coming down the pipe with another appointed pro-life conservative judge if Ginsburg steps down or whatever. I think that's one of the reasons why all this hubbub is happening.
At first, I was talking to Pastor Toby about this yesterday. It's like, man, I thought we were winning. I thought the momentum was with us. I thought this was going the right way. Why all of a sudden did we have this left hook with New York? And so I was a little thrown back. But talking with you about this, this is how the losers are fighting because they know they're losing.
Right. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think this is
not a resurrection sign.
No, I think this is a sign that the pro-aborts, the pro-baby murders, the anti-life, whatever we want to call them, I think they're scared.
Right.
And they're getting
slave masters.
And they're getting desperate.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to make a big show, but in what they're doing in their big show is showing their true colors.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, and I said actually what I think is happening too, along with that, is we've been fighting this fight where we've eroded the enemy's camp so far that the only thing that is left is the diehards.
Oh yeah, and and I think great.
Yeah.
Let the diehards keep giving the microphone to the diehards.
Yeah,
because every time you give it to the diehards, there are more people who might have been a little bit pro-choice or kind of wishy-washy on pro-life, and they say, I don't want to be that.
I'm not going to support that.
So we won the battle all the way up until the point where it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not a human being. Well, we beat that one.
Yeah.
Well, it's my choice to do that. We beat that one. We beat everything down to the ones who said, I just want to kill my baby because that's what I want to do. That's the last group.
For any reason.
For any reason.
Trump, for all his atrocities, immoral atrocities, he said a couple, he prophesied this.
Yeah.
A couple.
Well, he was interviewed about this actually just last week.
Really?
And he actually said,
he doubled down
he
again?
said, no. And Trump said, I thought trans statement was terrible. Do you remember what I said to Hillary Clinton? I said that Hillary Clinton was willing to rip the baby out of the womb. That's what it is. That's what they're doing. It's terrible.
Yeah, I got the clip here.
Issue of late-term partial birth.
Well, I think it's terrible. If you go with what Hillary is saying, in the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. Now, you can say that that's okay, and Hillary can say that that's okay, but it's not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day. And that's not acceptable.
Well, that is not what happens in these cases. And using that kind of scare rhetoric is just terribly unfortunate.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
Using that kind of scare rhetoric is just terribly unfortunate.
That is not scare rhetoric.
A discussion would ensue between the physician and the mother about whether to kill the baby or not.
So Trump sounds like he's hyperbolizing in 2016.
Yeah, that's a debate between Trump and Hillary before he's elected.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, I keep thinking about the Virginia governor. This is the same guy that would have said, "Hey, listen, I believe in 53 in this kind of like the heat of slavery still."
Yeah,
I think he's the same guy who would have said, "I believe a slave owner has a right to do with his slave whatever he wants to do." That's the same kind of person.
But he would have said it nicely.
Well,
with a Southern accent.
Listen, this is a hard decision between a slave master and his slave, and we want that to remain between the two of them. And so rather than us, the government, getting involved, with the slave master beating and raping his slave, listen, what he wants to do with his slave is his own business.
The Democrats are masters
is that sweet enough for
at taking language and saying one thing, but while meaning another. Good, evil, evil, good, right? And
now
recently,
they're starting to lose that though.
and with the abortion and all that, some others' right, et cetera. Recently, the headmaster of Sheridan School, a K-8 institution in D.C., said that they were not going to play sports at VP Pence's wife's school, Emmanuel Christian
First lady.
School. And second lady. And she said because that their views and their fundamental beliefs make us feel unsafe. Make my school feel unsafe if we go play basketball.
Public school.
It's not public school.
Oh, it's a private school.
$36,000 a year.
That's yeah.
It's a private school.
Well, it probably costs more to run public schools.
That's probably true.
So they said they don't feel safe.
They don't feel safe to go play
the
sports.
Christian school because the Christian school holds to Christian values.
Yep. This school, Sheridan School, they support LGBT views, parents, kids in their school and everything.
Go ahead.
But this is calling evil good, good evil. They're actually creating an unsafe environment for kids. Sheridan School, because of their pro-LGBT stances, are their sexually transmitted diseases through homosexual activity goes up, and
molestation, sexual harassment,
and the bigger issue is their souls. Yeah. They're destroying these kids' souls, saying that it's okay if you do this.
Jesus had something to say about millstones and little children.
Man. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It would be better for you to be drowned in the bottom of the sea than to cause one of these little ones to stumble.
Yeah.
And talk about causing these little ones to stumble. Did you guys see that little video? I haven't watched the whole clip, but this lady talking to kids about abortion.
No.
You've not seen this? No. Oh man. That's what they're doing. Like they're trying to normalize. You got trans and drag queens doing library reading time.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is happening. And you have women talking to little kids about how abortion is just normal.
And we got on all this, we got to stop reasoning with Democrats like they're normal, like they're safe, like what their arguments are safe for children. Safe for kids.
This is why the Grace Agenda Conference coming up is actually, if you want to go to a good conference, the Grace Agenda Conference about, what is it, keeping your kids?
Keep your kids.
Keep your kids, people.
April 5th and 6th.
Who's going to be there?
We got
C.R.
Wiley.
Oh, come on.
And we got a whole lineup. The really cool thing about this conference this year is that, of course, Pastor Doug Wilson is going to be speaking. But you know who else is speaking? His son, Nate, Indy Wilson, and his son-in-law, Luke Jankovic,
Yep.
and his son-in-law, Ben Merkel.
And we got Luke
Come on,
coming
talk
up.
about
Luke and
kids.
Rachel coming up on the
that's
show.
the thing
Yeah.
is it's
Talk
really
about
cool. I mean,
family.
that's one of the things that you want to trust a pastor.
Yep.
Look at his children.
Look
Look at his
lineage.
children
Oh, man.
and look at his grandchildren.
That's
Amen.
right.
Do they love his God with
Amen.
him? Do they stand
Yep.
with him in the gates?
Yeah.
Yep. That's right.
You know, man.
And then you can get a chance to check it out.
Well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think J.D. Greear is creating a safe environment at his church either. I don't think J.D. Greear is creating a generational faithfulness at his church.
Whoa.
Or the SBC.
If you guys know, I mean, just in this past couple weeks, a sermon was preached by J.D. Greear on how, and he stated that Christians should whisper where God whispers and shout where God shouts. But it seems to him that the Bible whispers about sexual
He didn't really say
sin.
that. He didn't really say that.
Oh, you better believe it.
No, I don't believe it.
Jen Wilkin, who's one of our favorite Bible teachers here and who's actually leading our women's conference, she said we ought to whisper about what the Bible whispers about, and we ought to shout about what it shouts about. And the Bible appears more to whisper when it comes to sexual sin compared to its shouts about materialism and religious pride.
Oh,
Is Jen a guy?
Jen is a woman.
Oh, okay.
Jen is a woman.
Favorite Bible
One
teacher?
of their favorite Bible teachers at Summit Church. Oh man! In another part in the sermon, he says homosexuality doesn't send anyone to hell. Now here's the thing. Oh my goodness!
6:9.
But he quotes 1 Corinthians 6:9.
Does he really?
He
Yeah, he
does. This is the challenging thing. You watch the whole sermon.
Yeah.
Listen to the whole sermon. This is the challenging thing. It's full of a lot of true things.
That's the problem.
He reads straight through Romans 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
He reads all of it. He doesn't ignore any of it.
Deals with it.
He deals with it. He even leans against liberal interpretations of it. Well, he doesn't even lean against it. He fights against it.
Absolutely.
Because liberals will say that Paul's only talking about promiscuous homosexual sex, not committed same-sex relation. And J.D. Greear says absolutely not.
Yep.
Paul knew about those kind of things in the first century. Those things were known in the ancient world. Yep. And so Paul didn't leave any room for those kinds of exceptions. So it's like, there's some good stuff there.
But then he teaches a liberal application.
That's the thing. I sort of think of it like the old practice of cutting coins. You know, back in the day, people would sometimes they would steal.
Yeah.
Trimming coins.
Yeah.
They trim a little bit off the edge and they'd still pass it off as a quarter or nickel or whatever. And they'd be cutting off a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver. And and those clippings would eventually add up and then you've got money.
Right.
And people, unless you weighed it, didn't know what was missing. Right. Or, you know, how much salt can you put in the sugar bowl?
Yeah.
Before it's no longer sweet anymore. And so there's tons of truth there. And I mean, he goes on a tirade. I mean, he goes against abortion.
Yeah.
It's right after Right for Life, Sunday.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bunch of good stuff in there. And if you're listening, you're like, that's good. And that's good. And he's fighting. And I know I believe fully that he's a sincere Christian pastor who's trying to take a bold and courageous stand. But then he says things like this, that the Bible doesn't shout about sexual sin or that the gospel is not about letting gays become straight, but it's only letting the dead come to life as if that's different.
Yeah.
I mean, when the dead come to life, do they come to life as homosexuals?
No.
No, they come to life as male and female, made in the image of God, with a new and godly orientation given to them.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Not that they don't still struggle with sin.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it's hard.
It's hard and it's messy. You know, it's so funny because when I was listening to this and grabbing these clips, one of the things I said is like, this is more dangerous to me than liberal theology. Because what's mixed into it, you have to be of a certain type of king to be able to catch it.
A certain kind of what?
You had to be keen to a certain type of way to be able to catch it. Like you had to be trained, right? And this is actually why it's a good time to be a CrossPolitic club member, or I'm sorry, the Fight Laugh Feast Club member.
Oh
yeah. I keep on saying
we
CrossPolitic.
gotta explain that.
Yeah. So CrossPolitic is now turned to the Fight Laugh Feast Network. In case you don't know,
this is the CrossPolitic podcast show,
right,
Yep.
on the Fight Laugh Feast Network.
So one of the things that we've been working on is Proverbs with Pastor Toby. And we start working on it without a title. And it sounds like podcast with Proverbs with Pastor Toby. And then the first session, you opened up and said, wisdom is for kings. And I was like,
there it is.
Whoa, that's the title of the show. But going through that, when I was thinking about right after we just were filming that and we were
we're talking about J.D. Greear.
J.D. Greear. And I was like, what it takes to understand what he's doing takes wisdom.
Right.
You have to know that the way he's making a false dichotomy between being saved and being a homosexual.
Right.
And then he goes in and mixes. It's like, well, the word of God is always, well, it's not quiet and about this and then loud about that. The word of God is the word of God. It is to be believed and trusted above all.
And when the Bible labels something an abomination,
you say it as it is.
I mean, that is the Bible shouting.
That's right.
When it says abomination, that means like really, really bad.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's these are vile affections. And again, it's mixed in with truth where yes.
Enough.
Are we all sinners? Yes. Are we all equally fallen and condemned before God at the cross? Yes. But homosexuality is one of the sins that sends people to hell.
That's right. That's
so is
exactly
rebellious children. So is a fornicating teenager.
Yeah.
So is a porn. I mean, those things send you to hell apart from the grace of God. But the Bible does say that certain sins are more defiling.
Well, and don't forget, and you're going through Romans 1, there is a progression to the sin, and then there's an end that's like, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, these are just a bunch of lists of like, if you do that. No. There's a progression to your sin.
Right. And the thing that he kind of goofed on was he wanted to say that all that whole list from homosexuality to disobedience of parents was all equal.
Yeah.
But what Paul's actually saying is when you continue in all these other sins,
there's a cliff.
And at some point, God gives you over to his judgment. Homosexuality is not the sort of thing that might get you the judgment of God. No, homosexuality is the judgment of God. Yeah, it's the result of all these things.
That's right.
We stopped for a couple minutes and we looked at their worship service. We don't have time for this, but here's the thing. You can't worship like that at their church and not end up where they are.
And not become gay.
Worship matters.
Yeah. You
feminize your worship service. That's what I'm saying.
Gay worship ends up with saying things.
Real.
It's true.
That's so real.
It's true. We got to talk about that sometime.
Yeah, we do.
Next segment, we have Matt Shea coming up. So if you're a CrossPolitic Club member, I did it again. If you're a Fight, Laugh, Feast Club member, I got to get that built into my head. Fight, Laugh, Feast. Fight, Laugh, Feast.
That's
if you're a Fight, Laugh, Feast Club member, you need to go over to tenaccord.com right now. Get you one of those Tenaccord holsters. You hardly even know you're wearing it.
Ooh.
Tenaccord.com. Go get it because you're going to need one.
/CrossPolitic. Tenaccord.com/CrossPolitic.
You're going to need one of those holsters for your new Glock.
Who's coming on next?
Matt Shea.
Ooh.
Next on CrossPolitic. If you need a little red meat in your diet, Pastor Doug Wilson.
However much we might want to obscure the issues, however much we might build great universities with trained brains to cover everything in a dark mist, however much we reward those pundits who make ample room for our lusts and opinions, at the end of the day, we have to decide if we are going to do it God's way or not. If Baal is God, follow him. If Yahweh is God, follow him. There are no third-party movements on Mount Carmel. Everybody is in the game, and there are no sidelines. So what's it going to be?
To enjoy more red meat of this kind, check out the podcast on iTunes, or for more blogging of this particular nature, blog and Mayblog at DougWills.com. Kind of sticks in your teeth there.
If you are a homeschooler, we have an app for you. Check out Learnly.me. With Learnly, you can capture your family's learning experience anytime, anywhere, and it's all pushed into a digital portfolio that allows you to create classes, grade work, a family learning experience, and generate transcripts all with a single click. Something all homeschoolers should be doing. And for CrossPolitic listeners, use discount code LearnlyCross to get 50% off the first 3 months on a monthly subscription plan on top of 30 days free. So head on over to learnly.me/CrossPolitic. That's learnly.me/CrossPolitic.
Missed it. Good.
How do we do that?
What are you doing?
Welcome back to CrossPolitic on the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network. This segment is brought to you by Chocolate Knox's Beard.
Hey.
It's big and beautiful and black.
Yes,
it's also brought to you by Logos Online School.
I like those guys.
Yes.
LogosOnlineSchool.com. It's Christian and classical. It's accredited and affordable daily online classes with teachers who care. Logos Online School provides a Christ-centered classical education for grades 7 through 12, and it's online, supporting parents in their biblical responsibility
to
train
you don't have to
up.
be in Moscow to get the...
No, it's online. Anybody can get it.
Oh.
With us on the phone, is Matt Shea, representative in the state of Washington. Matt Shea is, oh man, the bio just went away. There it is. 4th generation Eastern Washington resident. His family operated one of the first stagecoaches in Washington. Matt is a veteran on CrossPolitic.
Yes, he is.
He's been on the show with us before. He grew up in Spokane Valley, where he attended school. Later, he earned a BA in history, political science at Gonzaga University, graduated cum laude from Gonzaga School of Law.
That's important.
He's been in the ROTC program, a distinguished military graduate. Oh my goodness. He was 8 months as a platoon leader in Bosnia, the U.S. Army, 11 months as company commander and logistics officer in Iraq.
You know, I knew it.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't. We met with Matt Shea one time, and I'm just going to tell you, I tried to size him up. Yeah. I knew I couldn't take him.
Oh, yeah. He'd take you down.
I knew it right away. I was like, nah, this is a bad dude right here.
Matt was elected to the Washington House of Representatives in November 2008. He's now serving, he serves the 4th legislative district, which includes the greater Spokane Valley, all the way to the Idaho border. He's our neighbor. He's our neighbor
to have.
Right next door.
Yeah. Whole bunch of other awesome stuff. You can check it out at mattshea.houserepublicans.wa.gov. Matt and his wife, Victoria, reside in Spokane Valley. Matt, it's great to have you back on CrossPolitic.
Hey, it's great to be back on. How about just a sinner saved by grace, water baptized, and spirit filled, man? That's all.
You know what, Matt? You all right, brother. You all right. I like it.
Now, Matt, you just told us a minute ago that you are in your office in Olympia, Washington, and you're hard at work. So what are the top legislative priorities, the big battles facing Washington State right now?
Well, the biggest battle we're facing right now is on the right to bear arms. Here in about half an hour, they're going to be trying to vote a bunch of anti-gun bills out of committee in the judiciary here in the House of Representatives. Everything from a high-capacity magazine ban, so-called assault weapon ban, really trying to penalize law-abiding citizens if they don't report a stolen firearm within 5 days, increasing really onerous provisions on the right to carry so that you'd have to go through a bunch of new training and other things. It's just all these things are meant to impair the right to bear arms. Washington's Constitution, much like Idaho's, says in Article 1, Section 24 that the right to bear arms shall not be impaired. That's exactly what these things are doing. And ultimately, there's been this misconception about what the right to bear arms is about, that it's about self-defense or it's about hunting. And it's about those things, but more importantly, as the Heller decision says, the United States Supreme Court decision penned by the late Justice Scalia says that the right to bear arms is primarily about the right and the ability to resist tyranny. And that's what we're fighting for today here in Washington State.
Now, Not too long ago, we did a story on CrossPolitic about I think it was a sheriff in a county or a chief of police maybe in a city in eastern Washington who said that he was not going to enforce a law that had been passed by the Washington State. Do you know what we're talking about?
I do. Initiative 1639, it was put up to the people, and a lot of money came into Washington. I believe really deceived people in the intent behind the initiative and really misled them. A lot of folks, in Spokane County, unfortunately, voted for it. It was a little over 50% that voted for it. But, of course, you had downtown Seattle and those folks cheerfully voting for something like this. Yeah. Well, a lot of sheriffs decided in eastern Washington, and now a lot of other law enforcement agencies are coming on board as well, saying, look, this is a very clear violation of the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Washington, and therefore we are going to uphold our oaths that we took to defend those constitutions, and we are not going to enforce this unconstitutional law. And it's very refreshing to see that in today's day and age. So it's not just one sheriff anymore or one police chief. Wow. We're seeing a lot more come on board with this as well.
So real quick, why does 1639 violate Washingtonians' constitutional rights?
Well, it impairs the right to bear arms. It puts some storage requirements on firearms. It essentially makes you liable if your firearm is stolen and then used in a crime.
Oh my gosh.
So you would essentially be found guilty for a crime another person committed, among many other things, but those are just a few.
So are they going to win with this? Are they actually going to get these things to pass, or are you guys going to be able to defeat this? This is going to happen in 30 minutes.
It looks like they have the votes right now to get it out of committee.
Wow.
It looks like it right now, and they are bent on passing some of these off the floor of the House of Representatives.
Wow.
So what other issues besides gun legislation? What are some other issues that you think are top priority?
Well, I think religious liberty, and of all the issues that we deal with today, religious liberty is really number one, because the right of conscience and the right to be able to practice Christianity beyond the four walls of the church is foundational to our republic. It's foundational to our ability to live as we should as Christians, and so that has come under attack in many, many different forms. There were a couple bills introduced. One of them was something called universal home visits. So essentially, it is allowing government agents to come into your home. And they say it's voluntary, but it always starts as voluntary when they turn it into mandatory, right?
Wow.
And come into your home to inspect with a newborn baby. If you have a newborn baby, the government wants to come into your home and inspect. These government agents do. That's just ridiculous. But and it's House Bill, I think 1771, and there's a Senate bill as well that's very similar.
Wow.
These are all attempts, again, to get into the very lives of people with government bureaucrats. It's unnerving, actually, because if they find something in your home, they're going to then use that to turn into, a reason to take your kids away, a reason to fine you. I mean, this is scary, scary stuff. That's just one example.
That's insane.
So these are plays being run by the enemy. Are there any plays that you are trying to run on the flip side to push these things, to protect these rights and to push back this tyranny?
Sure, absolutely. And let me give you one more big issue on this right of conscience. They want to mandate vaccinations. So you would not have a choice anymore, that you would be forced to be vaccinated. This issue was settled at the Nuremberg trials, where it was very clearly stated that people have an inherent right. I would call it an unalienable right to say what goes into their bodies, in particularly regarding medical treatments. And so this again is just another example. They want to remove exemptions from personal exemptions and also philosophical exemptions for people here in Washington State. And if this happens in Washington, this is really important for your listeners. If this happens in Washington, it's not going to stay in Washington. They're going to try to spread this throughout the entire country. Right. That's why it's so important to know about.
And here's the thing.
So on the other question.
Real quick, Matt. They mandate vaccinations, and then they're going to mandate sterilization. They're going to mandate something else eventually down that road,
that's
right?
I'm going to hold this a little closer.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Matt, go ahead. So what proactive plays are you trying to run?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, that's exactly where this is going. I mean, where does it stop? If they can mandate one thing, and come into your house for any reason,
right?
Where does that stop? We're doing a lot of proactive things, but I want to set the biblical foundation for this. So it's very clear in Scripture that we're called to be watchmen on a wall, that if we see something that is not of the Lord, that we are supposed to cry out that is not of the Lord, that needs to be stopped. And if we cry out, then the judgment is not on our heads. It's on the heads of the people that do not listen to us or choose intentionally to go against that warning. And I think that's very important to understand today, because a lot of people say, why would you introduce a bill if it's never going to go anywhere, right? You hear that quite a bit.
Sure.
Why would you do something if it's just going to fail? But that's not what we're called to do. We are called to be the warning, the watchman on a wall. And I know you guys do that with CrossPolitic.
Well, thank you.
Quite a bit.
Well, that's a plug. That's commercial right there.
We'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Well, I figured you would.
Yeah.
But I have a slew of different bills on the vaccination issue, saying a couple of things. One would allow for an examination to determine if you already have a naturally occurring immunity, so you wouldn't need to take a vaccination anyway. That just seems like common sense, although there's a lot of pushback on that right now. Another one that I have is just abide by the standards you already have out there for the types of chemicals that you say people should not be exposed to. Well, that should include vaccinations and other medical treatment.
Right.
On the gun issue, eliminating a state database, which they already have, a state database of firearm owners. That should never exist, because databases are a precursor to confiscation, and we're already seeing confiscation happen through red flag laws, one of which we have here in Washington State. They call them extreme risk protection orders, essentially allowing anybody, in practice anyway, to say, hey, Gabe, I tell you what, man, you had kind of a weird look in your eye. I don't know if I trust you as my neighbor, and I think you shouldn't be able to own firearms. And then you have to go through this huge court proceeding to try to prove your innocence, which is the exact opposite of our system. We should be innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around.
Yeah, what was
that's
that?
gone.
Oh, man. Unless your name's Kavanaugh.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, man.
So, Mac, given what New York just did with their health care law, so-called, and what Virginia was just trying to do with their abortion law that's been in the news the last couple of days here, what's the buzz on life issues and abortion in Washington State? What are you hearing there on the ground?
So I'm going to be introducing a bill of abolition here in Washington State. We're having it drafted right now, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to say that all life from conception to natural death is precious, is made in the image of God, is the potential for being the temple of the Holy Spirit, and therefore is worth being protected, especially the most innocent among us. I mean, it was horrific listening to this Virginia governor talk about essentially deciding when a baby is going to die as it's laying there on the table.
Right.
And I think it's important to understand that this concept comes from two professors in 1920. It was eventually adopted by the German government under Adolf Hitler, and it was essentially called life unworthy of living. And that was justified their euthanasia policies of people that they felt would not be of, any sort of benefit or any sort of productive member of the Reich. I mean, that is a scary place to try to go down, and yet that's what we're hearing right now today. So I appreciate you guys always bring up the issue of life. For me, that's one of the number one issues, along with conscience. I think those two actually go together. It really, if we don't protect life, we get every other issue wrong.
Is Washington State in danger of, are there any bills on the horizon there in Washington that would be akin to what has been just signed into law in New York State?
Not exactly yet. Actually, Washington has the worst laws regarding abortion in the entire country. We actually legalized here, we being the legislature, legalized abortion and expanded abortion. The people actually did an initiative back then to legalize abortion before Roe versus Wade. Then the legislature essentially expanded it afterwards.
Wow.
What we are seeing this year is what they say is the removal of all barriers to abortion bill. So essentially, any financial barriers that are out there, they want to remove them completely.
Wow.
I would not, however, be surprised if they didn't introduce a bill similar to New York,
so
because it's just the way it is here.
You're saying, it sounds like you're saying that the reason why there's no bills or major bills on the horizon is that Washington is already there.
Yeah.
It's already there. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So as you keep talking, I see this domino effect. Okay, let's get the guns, take the guns. Now we got home visits, so you can't stop us from coming in your house.
Right.
And so
we can vaccinate your children.
It's voluntary, not.
Yeah, voluntary. But it sounds like too, though, that is Washington like a test place for the rest of the nation?
Yeah, we actually call it that. We call it an experiment state. If they can get it passed in Washington and test their arguments out, they can pass it anywhere. Yep.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that was going on. So we actually need to be watching what's going on in Washington a lot more to see what's trying to be led into the back door in the rest of the states.
That's exactly right. But it's also the reason that we're trying to split the state now. And I would say the better way to phrase that is to create a new state of liberty in eastern Washington, because we do not share the same values as those folks in downtown Seattle. We just don't.
So why push that, Matt? You aren't gonna win that. Why push that?
Well, that's what everybody says, right? But again, be the watchman on the wall. And I have an entire presentation proving that the division of worldviews has already happened. We do not share the same values, traditions, cultures, and beliefs on a lot of things, on the right to life, on the right to bear arms, on the property rights, on liberty rights.
Yeah.
We don't share those same values, and the Founding Fathers left us with this mechanism under Article 4, Section 3 to split a state or to create a new state to better represent and reflect the values, tradition, cultures, and beliefs of the constituents in a geographic area.
So what do the liberals say in response? The liberals are in power. They're in power in the state of Washington. What's their response to you submitting that bill?
Well, it's really interesting. They call us a bunch of welfare freeloaders.
That's
They say
hilarious.
They say that,
That's hilarious.
It's like the kettle calling its pot black.
Right.
I don't like that one, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The pot white.
The teacup calling the pot white. How about that?
Okay.
but that's really what that's what they try to say. They say, our beneficence of downtown Seattle is essentially keeping you guys alive, and that we send a lot of tax money over to you. And my response to them has just simply been, if we've been such a terrible burden to you all for such a long, long time, please forgive us. Will you let us go now?
Yeah,
exactly.
Interesting.
But that's not how a massa works.
But actually, man, I keep thinking to myself, like, why would you give them that much ground anyway? Honestly, wouldn't it be you guys who've created all that foundation for them anyway? So why would you let them have that side of Washington? Don't you guys deserve to have it all?
Well, it would be viable, and I agree with you. But right now, the way that the demographic is breaking down, they just simply don't have the same cultures, beliefs, traditions, values that we do.
Yeah.
And actually, there was a study done on this published in the New York Times about the fact of the Scots and the Irish and also the Chinese in the Western United States came to the Western United States for freedom and the ability to live in a place where they could work hard and they could enjoy the fruits of their labor. And right in the West Coast actually was influenced by the shipping trade with entirely different values, entirely different heritage, entirely different belief sets. And so this is just, again, merely reflecting what has already occurred on the ground, and the fact that you have half of the state that wants to follow the Lord in righteousness and half that does not. Yeah. And it's kind of an Israel-Judah moment for us. And I think that it's just recognizing that fact here on the ground.
Okay, Matt, so real quick, tell me what your website is.
Well, I've got a whole bunch.
Where's the best place? Because since everybody needs to be watching Washington right now and watching what's going on there, what's the best place to get the best information about what you're doing out there in Washington?
All right, two things. First, they can go to libertystate.org. And that's for what we were just talking about, and you can see the presentation there. You can also go to the House Republican website, and you can see all the bills that I've sponsored, and you can check out my videos and my updates and my statements to the media, and see exactly what's going on and be on the cutting edge in regards to that.
Okay.
And really appreciate everything you guys are doing with CrossPolitic. It's awesome, and this is a worldview fight, as you guys have said so many times before.
That's right. Matt, before you guys decide to split the state, let those jokers die off. Their end won't make it. Wait for them to die off for a second.
They're killing themselves.
They're killing themselves off. You guys are going to win. So.
Oh, man.
John, speed up on CrossPolitic when we come back. You don't want to miss this. He's causing a ruckus out there in New York. More CrossPolitic next.
Classical Conversations supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview in fellowship with other families. We provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local, like-minded communities across the United States and in several countries, and we train parents who are striving to be great classical educators in the home. For more information and to get connected, please visit our website at classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community.
Drop something? Oh,
Gotta get my wires right.
Ooh, please do.
Yep.
Welcome back to CrossPolitic on the Fight, Laugh, Feast Network, watched and listened to by millions and millions and millions of people, many of whom homeschool.
Oh.
Homeschooling is a challenge, which is why we love Learnly.me. With Learnly, you can capture your family's learning experience anytime, anywhere. It's pushed into a digital portfolio, which just sounds awesome. You can have all these things together, classes, grading, family experiences, transcripts with a single click, maybe two.
Single?
I don't know.
Maybe two.
CrossPolitic listeners and watchers can use discount code LearnLyCross to get 50% off 3 months on a monthly subscription plan on top of 30 days free. Head over to learnly.me/CrossPolitic.
Nice.
On the phone with us right now, we have Mr. Pastor, bookseller,
infamous
John Speed. John is married to Kimberly. They have 5 children.
Oh, are they baptized, John?
Well, you know, the ones that are saved are baptized.
And you can see that?
There's evidence.
Oh, okay.
He's a bivocational church planting pastor in postmodern Syracuse, New York since 2011. His other job is as a used and rare bookseller operating. It's called John Speed, the Book Scout, since 1994. He currently operates a brick and mortar bookshop on the south side of Syracuse near Nedrow. You can check it out at johnspeedbooks.com.
Hurry up. Everybody's checking it out right now.
Yeah, he's also the author of Evangelism in the New Testament, and he co-produced the pro-life documentary Babies Are Murdered Here, and his church website is ChristIsKingBaptist.com. John, thank you so much for being with us on CrossPolitic.
Thanks, brothers. I really appreciate it.
You bet. So you've had some excitement.
Wow.
The New York Healthcare Act was recently signed by Governor Cuomo, and you did something that launched you into something of a spotlight. What did you do, and why'd you do it?
Well, we had some folks at the Capitol building the day that they voted on it. They were there with signs, lobbying, trying to, persuade somebody. Mm-hmm. And I had been at the March for Life filming our sequel to Babies Are Murdered Here. Babies Are Still Murdered Here. Mm. And, so obviously we're involved. And when it passed, I couldn't sleep. I just could see in my mind's eye just dead babies. And it just really bothered me. And I was praying, Lord, what do I do? I started, kind of fantasizing about doing what everybody else seems to do in New York, and that's just sell your house and get out. But right. I'm not one to run from a fight either. And so I just thought, well, we could shut down for a month. And I was like, I can't afford that. So I'll just shut down for a day. I'll just print out a sign, stick it on the door, explaining how we feel about this so our customers know, and we're just not collecting sales tax for the day. And it went from there and exploded all over the place.
So what's the feedback been as you've been in the spotlight? Would you say that you've received mostly support, mostly hatred, or a happy mix of both?
99% support.
Wow.
That's great.
But our spotlight's mainly been conservative media. So, Hannity and Fox and Friends and Glenn Beck and
CrossPolitic.
That stuff. You're gonna get mostly support from those folks. The only little bit of pushback we've gotten is right here in our community. Where it's a liberal community, postmodern, and they just don't want me to talk about it. They just want me to sell books and shut up. So I just. We've lost a couple of customers, but man, I'll tell you what. If
have you gained some?
Our mailing list right now looks ridiculous. Yeah.
So have you actually gained some customers through all this?
Yeah, we got about 700 orders right now. We're trying to fill.
Wow.
On a busy day, we would do 10. So
wow,
that is awesome.
Praise God.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think a lot of Christians when they a lot of Christian businesses when they actually stand up for the truth, you get what I call the Chick-fil-A effect. The next day chicken sandwiches spike after they stand up for against gay marriage and stuff like that. Why don't we see more Christian businesses doing kind of what you just did?
It's like everything else. I wrote that book on evangelism, and it's the same as that. It's just fear. And the issue is people don't fear God. more than they fear repercussions. And, even in some of those other cases, those other conservative businesses, they were attacked. They were attacked, and then the support came in response to the attack.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, we went on the attack.
Yeah.
And
the offensive,
going on the attack,
yeah,
it resonated. I mean, you should hear my voicemails. It's actually emotionally draining to listen to them because people will come on and they will start talking, to give their support, and then they start weeping. And we had a volunteer just going through the voicemails, and she had to stop. And she said, "Look, I can't do this emotionally anymore. I need somebody else." So I started listening to them, and man, it'll just break your heart.
Wow.
The emails that we get, like page-long emails and longer, telling us their stories. And this has resonated to a degree that no one could have foreseen, least of all us.
What's heartbreaking?
Yeah.
Explain what's heartbreaking about the voicemails and the emails that you're reading.
In some cases, you're talking about people who there were abortions, but in other cases, people who had difficult pregnancies, and they were getting advice to have an abortion from doctors.
Yeah.
And that's encouraging, but they get overwhelmed with the reality that, somebody like their own child or their own grandchild could be ripped apart, right? Limb from limb, literally,
right,
legally, here in New York. And it just breaks their hearts to think that, they think of their own child or their own grandchild. That's going to happen to some real baby.
Yeah.
Why are so many states right now pushing pro-choice measures? I mean, it seems like, the last couple months, like they've stepped up the press. And abortion's already legal in these states, and yet they're pushing more pro-choice measures.
Yeah, why that?
My take on that, and it's what they said here in New York, and I'm gonna take their word for it. I think it's right. They feel like. Well, no, let me back up. They actually believe what they've been saying. This is what it is. They actually believe that a woman has this sort of narcissistic right to murder the child to murder her own child, so that she doesn't have stretch marks, or that she doesn't have to give up college or whatever. They fully believe that. Now contrast that with the Republican Party, who basically says they believe these things, but when they have the power to do anything, they do nothing.
Yeah.
Or they do just enough to get votes for the next term.
Yep.
And it's disgusting. I think we have to get to a place, and I'm just feeling the emotion of all this because of what's happening here now, but I think we just have to get to a place where we're say this is enough. There's enough blood that's been shed, and we need to stop regulating abortion, stop regulating murder, and we need to end it. Yeah. And, that is the issue. I don't think the Republicans are half as committed to this as they say.
Yeah.
So, John, would you do me a favor real quick? One of the things that I know about you is I probably 2012, 2013 is when I first met you. We were doing How to Answer the Fool, and I was out there with you guys in New York, in New Jersey, I think it was actually. And you were open air preaching. It was amazing because one of the things, you're a very mild-mannered guy, very easygoing, and then all of a sudden you start preaching, and this beast comes out of you, and I'm like, who is this guy? And so for some reason I was attracted to that in some weird way, like, what's inside of this man? Jekyll and Hyde. It's a little weird. But since I've known you, you've always been going out to abortion clinics. One of the things that you and Marcus Pittman kind of helped change my mind on, I want you to do this for our audience too, is the type of people you're meeting out in front of abortion clinics. Would you paint the picture for me? The type of women that you're seeing out there at the abortion clinics, because our people who don't go out there don't believe that the women that are going there are actually joyful about what they're doing. They're painting a different picture than what you're actually seeing out there at abortion clinics. So just paint that image for me real quick.
Well, your average woman that goes to an abortion clinic, they make it out like she's made a very hard decision. This isn't easy. This is something that she came to after just a lot of heartfelt struggle. I haven't met that person yet. What you do see are people that have a high-handed rebellion against God. They know it's a baby. They're not thinking it's a clump of cells. The abortionist doesn't even tell them that it's a clump of cells anymore. That's an antiquated concept. They admit it, and they say, look, you just have to do this because it's right for you. And so these people that come, if you're just being out there, they'll cut you out and flip you off or whatever. I've been spit on, that sort of thing, because they know it's a baby, and they're suppressed. It's just like, how to answer the fool, how to answer the abortive mom. They know that it's human life, and they know they're killing it. They're murdering a baby, and they don't care. This is what the words are out of their mouth. I know, and I don't care. They're not victims. Now, there are a small percentage, very tiny percentage, who are being forced. In like cases of sex trafficking, it can happen. Things like that, where you've got sexual abuse in the household, it can happen. But it's a very tiny percentage. The vast majority of these women know what they're doing with both eyes wide open.
John, you're a pastor. You're planting a church. Talk to us a little bit about how are you leading your people in the midst of postmodern New York? How are you preaching on these things? How are you encouraging them? How are you shepherding your flock in the middle of this?
Well, so all along, since the time we planted, this church has been built on evangelism and built on the Word of God. And so they're used to seeing me go out and do crazy things, standing on street corners preaching. I've taught them how to evangelize over the years by both modeling it and, formally. That's the first thing. And just preaching, we have a solid foundation of the Word of God. We're going verse by verse through the Scriptures. We've gone through Romans and Mark, Jonah, Malachi. Right now I'm preaching through John. And as we go, where there's something going on, I comment on it. If there's something going on in politics that's messed up, and there's something in the text that would address that, I talk about it. And I try to give them a biblical understanding of Romans 13. If you do that, I think you're doing a lot. But, and just at the same time, and all that teaching and ministry, just really have a real church that just loves one another. And we have genuine fellowship here. Try to encourage that. I don't expect them all to be street preachers. I don't expect them all to do exactly what I do, but they can all do something. And so that's been the hard part, is I think sometimes early on I used to give the impression everybody had to do this. And now I just try to, just have the right understanding that people have different talents and abilities, and we just want to plug them in where we can.
John, I feel your heaviness. Like, you changed my demeanor just talking to you on the phone. Like, I feel the heaviness just now, just thinking about the issue and what you're, I think, feeling a little bit with all the weight that God's put on your shoulders through this process. And one of the ways Christians fight, I think of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was in the middle of some really bad times trying to rebuild the wall in Israel. But one of the things that he said was, the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that heaviness and rebellion in Israel. And so how do we handle kind of the heavy moment of what's going on with New York, Virginia, all these states that are going through these pro-choice legislation, but how do we handle that and have the joy of the Lord in a way that it actually is strengthening our people and moving forward?
For us, it's been prayer. It's just been keeping a Christ-centered focus to begin with. Christ wins, right? I mean, our theology, our eschatology, Christ wins.
Amen.
And he will win.
That's right.
And so that's really it. And no matter how dark it looks here now, he is going to conquer. He conquered death. He will conquer everything. He will win the entire universe.
Yeah.
And so we just have to do our part now. But prayer is so important to this. I want to make sure to say it. In September 2017, we were probably within about 3 weeks of closing the store and the church.
Huh.
We're just about out of everything, out of funds. And we started daily prayer meetings, almost daily, like Tuesday to Saturday every morning. And God just showed up in such a powerful way to provide for our needs, to keep us afloat, to even be at this point.
Huh.
And
won't he do it now?
I was in
Come
total
on now.
despair. I was in total despair. But then God shows up.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about having joy.
Yeah.
And now here we sit on 700 orders. I don't even know how much money we've made yet.
Hey, John, so right now you have some momentum. God is moving on your behalf. What are the next steps that you're saying, okay, God, you're in the fight now in a serious way. You got the attention. What are you going to do now? What's the next moves?
Well, I took the bookstore Facebook page, and my daughter sent me a message the other day. She says, "Are we actually still a bookstore? Or are we doing this activism thing now?" So we're taking the Facebook page, and we're really using it largely as a sounding board for this, because we're still reaping that benefit. I go on there, I post something, and people watch it like crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to use that. Now, the other thing that we're doing, the next big thing on the horizon, February 23rd, there's going to be a National Day of Mourning. A group of believers is putting this together. It's a month after we did what we did. There's going to be a rally in Albany. You guys have heard of activist Mommy?
Yeah.
You familiar with her work?
Yeah, sure.
She's behind a lot of this, and not all of it, but she's doing some of this organizing.
Okay.
And there's going to be a rally in Albany, and it's going to encourage people to shut their businesses down for the day like we did.
Yes.
Not pay sales tax that day. And, just encourage people to repent for their apathy over this.
Amen. So John,
that's going to be the 23rd of February. I'll be speaking at the rally in Albany.
Wonderful.
And I haven't mentioned that, I don't think, anywhere else. So you guys got some breaking news.
Just CrossPolitic. So John, what's your website? If somebody else wants to add to that 700 order book 700 orders of books that you have going on right now, where would they go? What would be the website?
John Speed Books. It's JON speedbooks.com.
Man, I feel like it should be speedybooks.com.
No. Don't do that.
JohnSpeedBooks.com.
Man,
thank you, brothers.
Go find your good thing and marry her. Have some kids and go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic. John, babies are murder here too, man. I'm looking forward to it, brother.
I am too.